Welcome to Lifology. I am James Miller, your host and a licensed psychotherapist. I'm looking forward to spending this time with you as we learn some pretty amazing life lessons. I have a great show for you today. I'll also be interviewing Deeter, who is a master speech educator and the author of Speech is a Skill. She is a pioneer of a new profession called Etalon Speech Education, which offers a 100% reliable, efficient, and permanent solution for people who stutter and struggle with other speech deficiencies. Anna has enabled thousands of former stutterers to end stuttering and revive their naturally balanced speech in only 3 days. Her practice is not only for people who stutter, but for any person who wants to improve their speaking performance. Anna is offering you a free 20-minute consultation. Simply go to www.livestutterfree.com. You may also purchase her book on her website, in any digital bookstore, or in the previous guest products in both stores at either jamesmillerlifology.com or lifology.tv. And teaches you how to be clear, concise, and methodical in your speech patterns that allows for any person who has a history of stuttering or a person who wants to improve their speech capability. Her interview is going to blow your mind. She's going to teach you practical tools and techniques and ways in which you can immediately improve your speech. So stay tuned. My guest today is Deeter, who is an Etalon Unblocking Master, speech educator, author, founder, director, and instructor of Speech Academie Etalon International. She is a pioneer of a new profession called Etalon Speech Education, which offers a 100% reliable, efficient, and permanent solution for people who stutter and struggle with other speech deficiencies. Anna has enabled thousands of former stutterers to end stuttering and revive their naturally balanced speech in only 3 days. Welcome to my show, Anna.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's funny. I was reading all your information and I said, okay, James, you have to be on your best behavior and pronounce every single word correctly. So I'm I'm really focused on that right now.
Good. That's what we all should do.
Yes, exactly. Especially being on the radio. I have to practice more. Yeah, of course. Now, you have been in the profession for over 30 years in Russia and in the US. And you have found so many things and done so many things, but you were unsatisfied with what was being taught.
I wasn't, but it happened much later in my life after servicing people as a conventional speech therapist, a conventional special education teacher in 2 countries, in 2 languages, in Russia, in the United States of America, and California, and finally being laid off in California at the hard times when, Unified School District didn't have any money for experienced teachers who would have a lot of education and stuff. So I decided I would never come back to this conventional professional field of speech and language therapy, pathology, because there were so many unanswered questions. And I could never offer people who stutter, stammer, clutter, I could never offer them the solution that they were looking for years.
And that's wonderful for you because like I said in the intro, you help people as quickly as in 3 days to be able to stop stuttering.
Actually, it happens in 1 day most of the time, but 3 days is much better because we don't have to rush. Sure. And people can do a lot of practice. People can just try their normal speech everywhere and finally become aware that, yes, there is nothing wrong with me.
I love that. That's so inspiring. I'm sure my listeners right now are very excited to hear that. Now, when you talk about stuttering or stammering, you look at that as every single person. Can you tell me more about that?
What I mean by every single person is that we all are stutterers sometimes. There are no people on the planet who speak without mistakes. Sure. We all do. Some make more mistakes, others less. And who are those people who make less mistakes? These are professionals, professional speakers, people who have used their tongue for years.
Yes.
And they actually strive for perfection. Just what you mentioned. I want to be on my best behavior, right? Yes. I want to say every word accurately.
Sure.
This is exactly right. However, if you have no experience, you have not enough experience of working with your simple muscle, which is the tongue, then no matter how hard you would be trying to be on your best behavior, you won't be able to accomplish that. Because the other part of humanity who don't speak too well, who make a lot of mistakes, these are people who are simply miseducated, who are not aware of how their speech instrument works, and they have no practical experience of using their tongue enough.
That's so interesting. I was some of my listeners may or may not know this, but I was a vocal performance major in undergrad, and so we talked about the articulators and the resonators as far as your teeth, your tongue, the soft palate, your throat, all those different aspects of it. But it's really interesting. They never, surprisingly, they never really talked about the tongue as much as obviously you are. So this is exciting for me because that was my major and that was not really expressed or taught. So this is wonderful.
The way I explain speech is the music that we play on our speech instrument. I call it a speech pipe. It's a wind instrument. So if you take any other wind instrument, like a trumpet, for example, right? So then you know that, yes, the whole instrument is a resonator.
Yes.
So there are so many resonating surfaces, chambers, blah, blah, blah. But what's the most important part in the instrument? How do we make sounds? How do we extract sounds from the trumpet? With the air that we breathe out and with the movements of our fingers. So it's very simple to understand. The most important part is the muscles that we use. And of course, what is it that we are directing? We're directing the flow of carbon dioxide, the air that we always have in our body. We have plenty of it because our body keeps producing it nonstop.
Yes.
So all these people who recommend all kinds of breathing exercises, they are my personal enemies.
That's hysterical.
I'm joking about this, but this is not actually a joke, because every time we attempt to exercise something that we have naturally, that it works naturally. We have a pump inside of us. Our lungs is a pump. It works automatically. And the worst thing we can do for our health is to try to better what we already have.
That's a good point.
Which is perfect.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, we breathe in automatically. Our lungs are just like a sponge. Okay? Imagine a sponge, you put it in the water, it sucks in all the water it needs and can hold, and then you squeeze it out, the water runs out, and then what do you need to do to fill the sponge with the water? Nothing.
Yeah.
Just let go and put it in the water, right?
That's a great point. Let's talk maybe more about the tongue. What is one of the biggest mistakes that most people do when they don't use their tongue correctly?
The biggest mistake is that they begin thinking about how to use it. This is the worst mistake, because when we are thinking about how to use the muscle, can we use the muscle at this moment?
Yeah, I've done that before. I've tried to be really focused on how do I breathe correctly, and you get so lost in your head that you forget how to breathe.
I kind of divide the whole body into two parts. And the borderline goes over the eyebrows, a little bit above our eyes. So everything above is the zone, the territory for imagination.
Okay.
That's where we imagine things. We can
makes sense.
All day long. That's where all our doubts are, where our thinking is, blah, blah, blah. Okay? And everything below the line where the eyebrows are, it's the territory of the instrumental muscle actions.
The expression of it. Yes.
The expression of whatever we have in our mind and our brain, basically. So speech is a instrumental action. It's a muscle action of the tongue. So the biggest mistake people make is when they begin thinking, instead of using their tongue, they begin using a totally different organ, the organ of imagination.
Oh, interesting.
And of course, I explain also, this is something I also explain a lot about the attention, because we have only one beam of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Some people call it consciousness, beam of attention, beam of selection, beam of this, of that. The bottom line, we cannot use at the same time both parts of the body. We cannot imagine things and use the muscles at the same time. It should be one at a time.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me. In fact, when you were saying that, I was attempting to think and also to move my tongue at the same time. And I was like, oh, she's actually very true about that.
It's impossible. I mean,
yeah, it is.
Of course, a lot of people do it. And this is why everyone today is a stutterer. Mm-hmm. Because the moment you begin thinking, doesn't matter what you're going to be thinking about. You are using the area of imagination. You are not using the below part, the mm-hmm. part where all the muscle actions are being performed. And it's not just about speech, it's about everything else.
Sure.
Playing other musical instruments, writing, biking, whatever, driving a car, it's all about, you can't use both parts of the body at the same time. It's always switching from one mm-hmm. to another one.
Which would make sense why most people will have fillers like or or they may say different types of things, and it's probably just like you said, because they're flip-flopping back and forth between the imagination and their tongue, and so therefore they're not able to be concise with what they want to say.
I wish they knew that instead of filling their speech with irrelevant, useless mm-hmm. trash, because it's trash, it's garbage.
It certainly is. Yeah.
Doesn't carry any information. And it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time of the listeners mm-hmm. and a waste of time of a speaker. So I wish people knew that instead of that, they should be quiet. Silence. It's the easiest way to switch from using one organ to another one. Because even when you are going, to mm-hmm. be honest, this is all using the body. At this moment, you cannot imagine. Mm-hmm. You cannot select. What is it that you want to name with the tongue? What is it that you want to say, really?
I like that.
Take time. It's not a lot. Sometimes it's a split of a second. Sometimes it could be like up to 3 seconds when we are not sure what we want to name with the tongue movements.
How would people transition from that? So as I'm sure people right now are probably even thinking in their brain, can I move my tongue? Just like I did. How may I move my tongue and think at the same time? What are some techniques right now that my listeners can practice so that they can be in line with their imagination and allow their tongue to represent that?
You just mentioned my favorite word. It's called techniques.
I know. I forgot about that. I shouldn't have said it.
Okay, but that's okay because people still believe that they need a technique to speak according to. And if there was a technique that people need to use in order to speak without mistakes, then, you know what? Young children wouldn't be able to speak.
That's a good point.
Young children or even parrots, stupid birds. Do you know that they speak? What kind of techniques do parrots use when they speak?
I don't know. I suppose it's their tongue. I don't know.
That's the thing. Parrots also have an instrument, a musical instrument. It's also a physical instrument. They also have a little beak. They also have a little tongue. They also, just like people, have wonderful hearing, very good hearing, because we have different types of memory. Mm-hmm. I teach it everywhere, 3 types of memory. One type of a memory is the eye memory. It's a visual memory. We remember things, images with our eyes, and we see with our camera. I call eyes our camera. Mm-hmm. Okay, because I actually teach that every human has a computer, biocomputer, body, mind, computer connected to the soul. Okay, so one type of memory is visual memory when we have eyes and we rely on our eyes. The other type of memory is the auditory memory. It's the auditory, it's a memory of our ears. And the third type of our memory is a kind of muscle memory. You know, people talk about muscle memory. This is reality. The tongue should have muscle memory. But if people don't speak much, how can they train their tongue?
Sure. Well, if they don't practice it, of course. They may just do something unfettered without any understanding.
Yes. And people who stutter do not have muscle memory of their tongue, period. It's empty. They don't know how to use the tongue. This is why the moment they need to say something, they begin thinking. They begin guessing.
That
They
makes sense
go
with what
to
you said.
them to their organ of imagination, not to the organ of their tongue muscle. No, because they have no experience of how to move their tongue. So the only technique people should practice is whatever you want to say, see it. Make sure you know what is it that you want to name, and then just move your tongue. Understand that it is impossible to do at the same time. Give it a split of a second to make sure what is it that you want to talk about.
Now, the way that people would do that, so I'm listening to this as well, and I'm thinking, do I visualize the movement of my tongue? Do I visualize myself saying it, speaking to the other person? What would be the type of visualization or I guess memory that people would use in order to create this experience?
This is visual is, we have different types of visual as well. I mean, it's just little details you are asking about. I can go there. So visual, it's the camera. What is it that you're focused when you're taking a picture with your camera? What are you focused on? You are selecting, you're selecting a picture, right? What is it that you want to take a picture of? Can you take a clear picture at the moment when you're still moving your camera?
No. Great analogy. I like that.
Impossible, okay? So you need, in order to take a picture of whatever you want to take a picture of, right? You got to select it and stop moving the camera. And then, after that, you use your muscle. Tick, you push the button, the take picture button.
I really like that visualization.
It's very simple. That's what visualization is. Visualization is selecting a picture, selecting an image and some volume of information that you want to name with the movements of your tongue. That's it. It's so simple. Yet people are so confused about it.
Wow. And I know in your book, Speech is a Skill, I know that when they purchase this book as well, and we'll give information at the end of this interview, that it goes through the specific techniques and ways to eliminate all the stuttering, stammering, or clunking, I suppose, that people often have. So that will be a wonderful technique. So as they're hearing you say this now, I'm sure they'll have lots of questions, but they will be able to find the information in this book, Speech is a Skill, as well as on your websites as well. That's correct?
You're absolutely correct. However, you got to understand that every book is written for what organ?
Yes, that's true. For your eyes.
You look at but when you read, you understand it. And by the way, everyone is different. The way we understand, the way we read. Some people are horrible readers. Some people are better readers. Some read and understand better. Others can't understand anything. Some people skip over the lines. Other people read every word. So we all are so different. But every single book is written for your organ of imagination. This is for the organ, the brain, right? That's where you decoding the written information, understanding, comprehending the written information. This is why Speech is a Skill is a book that I published about 4 years ago already. I have written many, many more books after that. Although this book is an eye-opener for many, many people, however, it's written 4 years ago. I have come up with a much better, easier way to explain the same concept, but in a much easier way.
Oh, it's exciting.
This is why it takes only 1 day most of the time when people come to me. I explain things to them and they begin following the natural speaking norms. And, stuttering says goodbye right
Oh, that's
away,
wonderful.
instant. But in the book, of course, there are many, I don't call them techniques, I call them natural speech norms. Back then, I called them rules. However, whatever you understand and you already know may not work for someone else, because for someone else, this is something that he knows, and this person needs something else. Because when people ask me, Anna, what is their secret? What are the natural speaking norms? I go, there is no secret. No secret. I have no idea what it is. Secret for you, because we all have different mindsets. We all believe different sets of information, correct information, truth, and disinformation, lies.
I really like that, especially when I look at your website right now. You have so many amazing things in there. And unfortunately, Anna, I'm looking at the time. Our time is unfortunately up.
No way.
I know, right? I have thoroughly enjoyed this interview. If my listeners would like to find more information about you, to purchase your books, to get some of the free things that you have on your website, where would I find all this information online?
Thank you for kind of directing me. Okay. So the bottom line, there are 2 big websites. One is really user-friendly, so I recommend you start there. It's, of course, www.livestutterfree.org. Just go there. It's just a couple of pages, and then you decide what you're going to do. But the whole body of information, free ebooks, free video lessons, a lot of information is on livestutterfree.com. Then you're going to make a decision. Okay, I got to take Anna's class. I'm sick and tired of struggling. And by the way, it's not just for those who stutter. It's for anybody who does presentations, who wants to be a perfect public speaker, who wants to be a blogger. Today, with this coronavirus, we all have to sit at home and speak only in front of our computers, right? That's a perfect time to take the class.
Yes.
Nothing else to do. So come to me and schedule a free consultation with me. Like I say, about 20 minutes, I give my time freely, because what I do is so different from anyone else.
Well, what I also want my listeners to know, that if they're not able to find this information on Anna's site or aren't able to find it at all, just simply go to jamesmillerlifology.com or lifology.tv and it will direct them with Anna. Anna Deeter, thank you so much for being a fantastic guest on my show today. I've learned so much, so thank you.
Thank you for having me.